Hi guys, today I'm going to be doing the spring reading tag, and as you know, with tag videos I've started a new thing where I do my knitting alongside of it to try and get better at crafting and knitting because I'm a failure at it. Now I'm just going to talk about the knitting very quickly. This is where I'm at so far, and knitting needles have size measurements on them, and I'm supposed to be knitting on a 4, so I have my 2 4 knitting needles here, and this is now on a 5. So I don't know how this has happened. I'm not destined to be a crafter or a knitter. I just put it all in a bag and I obviously picked out the wrong things. I think I could salvage it as long as I get it back onto the 4 now, quickly. No one need know and it'll be fine. Question 1 is, what books are you excited to get to reading? So the book that I'm really excited about is The Descent of Man by Grayson Perry. Grayson is a UK artist and he's also a man, and this book is all about masculinity. Grayson has also illustrated it and it's got really funny comical illustrations within it, and I'm so excited to get to this. And I was thinking about what other books am I excited about, and I'm just excited about all my books on my bookshelf. I think if there's a book, when you look at your bookshelf and you go, ugh, I don't think I'm ever going to read that, or I don't know when I'm going to get through that, that's going to be a slog. Give it to a charity shop, get rid of it, get it out of your space. Because what's the point? Reading needs to be fun and exciting. Question number 2, what book makes you think of spring for whatever reason? I really couldn't think of one, but then Alice Walker came into my head, and Alice Walker is my favourite author, and I love spring, so I don't know if that's why. Alice Walker, like it's not a book, it's an author, but I think of all of her books when it comes to spring. Question number 3 is, what is the longest book you have ever read? I'm going to cheat on this one, because it's a bind up of 2 books together, but it was one book when I was reading it. And that is Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal by Thomas Harris. Oh, I will never get that time back. I'm a huge fan of the films. I think what the films do really well is they take all the good elements of the book and they put it in the film. So it's not like they're completely different. It's just all the filler's gone out of it, and there's so much filler in the books, it's unbelievable. I also feel like the books are like crime detectives and the films are horror. The films are just sensational because in the book you get a lot of the DNAs come back and forensics and behind the scenes of the detectives, which you don't really get that much in the film. And in the book, Hannibal Lecter isn't as big a character as he is in the films. He's hardly in it. He's mentioned, he's spoken about, but he's not in it verbally a lot. Don't bother with the books, just watch the films. The next question is, what book would you recommend to brighten someone's day? And I would honestly say the Madame Pamplemousse series. It's a children's book series and it is just so lovely. It is set in Paris and you genuinely feel like you're in Paris. The illustrations are stunning, the writing is lovely, and it's about this eccentric woman called Madame Pamplemousse who owns a food shop, but it's all weird combinations of food and everything's delicious. And she's a lovely woman, and this little girl, they befriend each other because the little girl has to work at her uncle's restaurant. So they form this friendship and it's about their adventures together. I'm not doing this tag very well because I think it was like, oh, it was more poetic than what I'm doing it. I'm just getting straight to the questions, if we're honest. The next question is something like, spring breathes new life. What book do you wish existed that didn't exist? So it's a really good tag. If you go and watch the original, it's a good tag. I just like to sit here and chat really. So a book that doesn't exist that I wish did exist, I really can't think of anything, but I'm incredibly nosy. So when people die and they haven't spoken about certain things that have happened within their life, I'm like, why didn't you write a book on it if they're an author? And something that fascinates me is, I love Arthur Miller, the playwright. I've reviewed so many of his plays on the channel, adore him. He married Marilyn Monroe and they were married for 5 years and they had a bizarre kind of marriage, and I wish he'd written something about their marriage. It's so fascinating. Basically what happened is he was married, he had kids. Him and Marilyn Monroe had an affair while he was married and he decided to stay with his wife, and then years later they got married. Marilyn Monroe quit Hollywood for 18 months, was like, I'm not going to do anything, I want to become a wife. And she's had her life is so sad, child abuse, sexual abuse as a child. No one really wanted her as a child, and I think that's why she became who she was, and she had no self-worth. She didn't feel like anything unless someone said, you're sexy, you're beautiful, and she only saw her self-worth in other people's praising of her. She fell pregnant, had to have it terminated because there was a problem, and then she had a miscarriage, and I think she liked living with him because she got on really well with his parents and his children. It was like a ready-made family. She then converted and became Jewish to please him, right? And then when she got back to Hollywood, that's when the problem started, and she became addicted to sleeping tablets. And he did nothing. And people say that he knew, but for some reason he didn't do anything about it. And then 19 months after they got divorced, she committed suicide. She died. So it's so interesting that he was her third husband, and maybe she thought she'd never find love. He remarried after her. This movie star and then this acclaimed writer getting together, and her desperation to want to be loved. The only thing that's ever really been said about it is Marilyn Monroe once said when she was married to him, he's a better writer than he is a husband. Shade! And I think what she meant is he was a workaholic, and she was someone who needed constant praise and attention because I don't believe she had very good self-worth, and she was a very damaged person and needed that. And I don't think he gave her that at all. He was just obsessed with his writing. I don't think he really loved her that much. I think he just thought she was beautiful, and that was kind of it. It's very sad, the whole story, and it's bizarre how, you know, they had an affair, that's how they got together. You know, he left his wife for Marilyn Monroe. That was the reason he divorced his wife. Doesn't that sound bloody fascinating? I want that play, I want that novel, I want it all. Question number 6 is spring is a time of growth. How has your reading habits changed? A brief history of my reading. I never read as a child, wasn't interested, had dyslexia, it was undiagnosed, I hated to read. And then in my early teens, I got massively into Jacqueline Wilson, read all the Jacqueline Wilson I could read, and that was it. And I didn't come back into reading till I was 16. We had to do Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and Arthur Miller's A View from a Bridge. Fell in love with both of those books, and then again, didn't really read till I was 20. So I haven't had a massive thing, and I love classics, I love horror, I love all kinds of different genre, but I've never been through YA, I suppose, or children's fiction. That's why now as an adult I try and read it, because I've never been through that stage, because at those times of my lives I wasn't reading. Lives. Those times of my lives. The next question is, how is your reading going so far? My reading is going fine. I don't have any goals that I really set myself. I do TBRs, and if I read all the books, that's fantastic. If I don't, then it can roll over to the next month. I don't like to put pressure on myself, and I hate it when I hear people get down about themselves in wrap-ups, and they're like, I'm so disappointed, I only read 4 books, or I only read 1 book this month, I'm so disappointed in myself. Don't be disappointed, because reading, you know, it's an enjoyable thing that you should do, and just read at whatever pace you want to. It doesn't matter how many that person read and how many books that person's managed to hold up. Oh God, it doesn't matter. My reading's going great because I'm enjoying it. That's it. Apart from you, the hate list. You were terrible. I just got so aggressive. I was like, you, step forward. You're a disgrace. And the last question is, do you have any plans for the next coming months? So much has happened so far this year. I mean, I moved from Birmingham to Bristol, moved in with my boyfriend, seen quite a few shows and different stuff this year. So I don't have any direct plans at all, but I'm sure I'll get out to something at some point, see what's on, see what's coming. I love going to the theatre so much, so something like that. Me and my boyfriend also want to go camping. I know, me, camping, me, in the wild. But just enjoying life, just taking the everyday. I think it's important to take in the everyday, because I used to only live for what was in the future. So if I was going to see a show, I would count down the days and be like, I can't wait till this day open, I can't wait for this. So I was really unhappy within my own life. I used to work as a shop assistant, and I used to work on a customer service desk, and it was just awful. People would come in and just shout at you and be rude, and I hated my job. And so I would plan things, so I had something to look forward to, but then in the like here and now, I was just wishing my life away, and I really try not to do that anymore, and I try to just enjoy. I mean, living in a beautiful place like this is really nice because I've got a park at the top of my road. I can walk up, read a book, enjoy what I'm reading, look at the flowers. I don't like to kind of be like, this is the only things I'm excited for, because I am excited for everything and taking in the everyday. And that's it, that's the end of the tag. I've somehow matted the string, so that's why I was sitting here like, how is that achieved? It's like a skill I have. But that's my knitting so far. It's looking alright. Oh, look at it like a fan. Hello. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I can unmatch this somehow. And I'll see you again soon for another video. If you have any suggestions for tags that you think I should do, then please leave them down below. I'm always looking for book tags that I'd be interested in. So leave down below any tags. Also check out the person who created this tag. And I'll see you again soon for another video. That is really matted though. How does that even happen?